Hi friends, my name is Akil Ahmed, and in this particular video tutorial I will show you how to move data in chunks from one SQL Server table to another table using SSIS. So recently I got a question from one of my subscriber, Tejas, and the question was, I want to transfer million data into batches from table A into table B. Table A and B both are inside the same database. So what would be the query? So in this particular video I will try to create an SSIS package, because SSIS package will be a lot faster as compared to writing the SQL queries to insert the data. Okay, so in this video I will show you the SSIS package, and maybe in the next video I can show you like how we can do the same thing using the SQL query as well. Okay, so for now let's see the SSIS method, because that will be a faster way. So let's jump to the demo. So I had two instances of SQL Server 2017 instance and the SQL Server 2019 instance. Okay, so what we will do, we will move the data from the email table which contains 1 million records. So we will move the data from email table that exists onto the work database on SQL Server 2017 instance. So this is our source connection, and we want to move this data to the test database into the same email table, and that table exists on the SQL Server 2019 instance. So we will move the data from one server to another server, and the table name will be the same. Okay, so this is our source table at the SQL Server 2017 instance in the work database which contains 1 million records, and this is our email table, okay, on SQL Server 2019 instance into the test database, and the destination table is empty as of now. Okay, so what we will do, instead of copying the whole table, the whole 1 million records in one go, we will start moving the data in smaller chunks. So what we can do, maybe we can move the data in 100 chunks. Okay, so for example, if I divide the data 1 million records, if I remove the 20 from here, so suppose if I move the data in 100 chunks, then 10,000 records will be moved in one chunk. Okay, so this is how we can do. So either we can move the data in 100 chunks, or maybe we can move it in 500 or 1000 chunks. It's up to you, like how much data you want to move in one chunk from one server to another server, or maybe from one server to the same server. Okay, it's up to you. So I have created a log table here, audit log. So it will contain the ID as an identity, then it will contain the package name, the status like what we are doing, the part like which part we are moving. So we will be having the 100 part. Okay, so we will move one part at a time, like part 1, part 2, part 3 kind of thing. Records inserted, like how many records have been moved so far, and the time when a particular part has been moved. So as soon as we will start moving the data one part at a time, like 10,000 records at one time, so we will start inserting the data to the audit log table, so that we know like how much data has been moved. So suppose if you have a very large table and maybe on a production server, and it contains a lot of indexes, so the insert will be a lot slow on that particular table. So in that particular scenario, if you need to insert 1 million records to that particular table, so if you will insert the 1 million records in one go, then it can take a lot of time. Okay, and the table might be used during daytime as well, because there is a lot of data to insert, and maybe the insert might not be completed in the off-peak hours, in the night time. So what you can do, you can start moving the data in chunks. So suppose if 1 million records needs to be merged, and in the night time only 500,000 records got merged, then you can insert the remaining 500,000 records tomorrow. Okay, so that's how you can just insert the data in chunks. So let's see how we can do that. So what we will do, we will use the entile function here, entile SQL function, and which can divide the data into 100 equal parts. Okay, so we will create a staging table, and we'll take the ID from the main email table, and we'll use the entile function to create the 100 equal parts, and we'll create the another table, and then we can just merge the main table, the email table, with the staging table based on a join on ID, and then we can get the data for a particular part. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. So here first of all we will check if a table exists, then we can drop the table, and then we can recreate the table. So suppose I will create a new table with the name like temp underscore email. So if temp underscore email exists, then we can drop the table, drop table temp underscore email. Okay, so we will create a new table here, select ID, and I can just write from email. Okay, and after that we can use the entile function. So entile and we want to create 100 and tile over order by id as, and we will call this new column as part. Okay, so this will create the 100 parts and will create a new table. I will call it into temp underscore email. Okay, so if I execute this particular query, so this will create a new table temp underscore email and with the column as id and the part column. Okay, so this table should be created here. Alright, so the table has been created here, and now I can create the indexes on the both the columns id, create index ix underscore id on temp email, and I will share all the scripts with you, those I'm using here, so that you can use it in your environment as well. And we'll create another index on the part column. Okay, so I can just execute this particular query and the index should be created. Yeah, so we are good here. Now what we will do, we will join this temp underscore email with the email and we'll get the data from the email, but we will select the data for one part. Okay, so how I can write the query, select a dot star from email, which will be a, inner join temp email, which will be b, on a dot id equal to b dot id, where b dot part equal to 1. Okay, so initially we will select 10,000 records for part 1, then we will select 10,000 records for part 2 and so on. So we will select the data in 100 parts. Okay, so this is how you can just move these particular records from one table to another table. Okay, so now let's see how we can just write the code inside the SSIS package. So I can simply copy this particular code and I can just write this code inside an execute SQL task. Okay, in the SSIS package. So I can just open the SSIS package. So this is my blank SSIS package that I will be using today, and I can just drag and drop the execute SQL task into the control flow window, and I can call it as prepare source tables. Okay, and this needs to be created at the source server, at the source table. So our source server is the 2017 instance and the work database. So I will select this connection and I can click on OK. Under SQL statement, I can simply paste this particular query and then I can click on OK. Okay, so this is done. Now I need to create few variables here. The first variable will be the counter variable, or you can call it as part variable, like for which part you want to select the data, and this particular variable will be used inside the for loop as well. And the second variable I want to create is the records inserted, like how many records have been inserted in one go. So this is how it will work. Yeah, so I think these two variables are fine as of now. Yeah, so I can close this one and then I can just drag and drop the for loop container into the control flow window, and I can connect the execute SQL task with the for loop container, and then I can just click on edit here. Now I can just declare this particular init expression. So we will start the for loop with a value as 1, and then we will check if the part is less than 101. So this loop will run till 100 times. Okay, and after every iteration, what we will do, we will set the value of part as part plus 1. Okay, so this is how the for loop will run. It will start from 1 and it will run till 100, and then every time we will increment the value of part with part plus 1. Okay, so this is how it will work. So I can click on OK, and now what we will do, yeah, so there is one more thing, that I need to create one more variable here which will be called as SQL query. Okay, and the data type will be string here. Okay, and I can click on expression here, put the double quote, and then I need to copy the select query from here. So I can select this particular query and then I can paste the select query here and the double quote. Now instead of the hard coded value 1, we need to assign this value from the part SSIS variable. So I can put double quote plus plus double quote, and then I can just drag and drop the part SSIS variable here, and because this is of type integer, so I need to typecast it to string. So I can write dt underscore wstr comma 12. So I think this is fine. Now I can click on OK. So this is fine. Now in the for loop, we need to use the data flow task to move the data from one table to another table. So the data flow task will work a lot faster as compared to the SQL query. So I can just double click data flow task, And now because our source is a SQL Server table, so we can just use the OLEDB source here. So I can use the OLEDB source and then I can configure the OLEDB source here. Our source is the SQL Server 2017 instance, so that is already selected here. From data access mode, I will select SQL command from variable, and from variable name I will select the SQL query. So this is our SQL query. I can click on column. So these are the columns, those will be inserted from source table. Okay, so I can click on OK. Now because we want to know like how many records will be moved in one go, so we can use the row count transformation here. So I can just drag and drop the row count transformation, and I can connect the OLEDB source with the row count transformation. I can configure the row count transformation, and I can select the records inserted SSIS variable here. Now I can click on OK. Now we can use the OLEDB destination here. So I can just drag and drop the OLEDB destination into the data flow task, and I can connect the row count transformation with the OLEDB destination. Now I can configure the OLEDB destination, and I can create a new OLEDB connection to the destination server. So our destination server is the 2019 server, and the database name is the test database. So we already have a connection here, so I can use this connection, and I can click on OK. From table or view, I will select the email table because the data will be inserted to the email table, and I can click on mappings to make sure that all input columns have been mapped with the destination column. So this is fine. So now I can click on OK. Okay, so the basic SSIS package has been created here, and now if you want to insert the auditing information into the audit log table, so I can use the execute SQL task here, and I can drag and drop into the for loop container, and I can connect the data flow task with the execute SQL task, and I can call the execute SQL task as audit log. Okay, and I can configure this one. In the connection, I will select the 2019 connection because our table exists in the 2019 instance. Okay, this is the SQL Server 2019 instance, and this is the audit log table. Okay, and because we want to use some variables inside the query, so we need to go to the expressions, and in the expressions we need to select SQL statement source property. Okay, and we can maximize this one, and I can put double quote here, and then we need to write the insert query to insert the data into the audit log table. So I can write the insert query here, like insert into audit log, select ID will be identity, so we don't need to provide any value here. Package name is package.dtsx for now. You can provide the appropriate package name. Status will be like merging data to email table, and the part value will come from the SSIS variable part. Okay, and then records inserted will also come from the SSIS variable, and the dated will be get date. So we can use the get date method to get the current date. So I can select this query from here, and I can paste it inside the expressions, and I can end the expression with the double quote. Now for the first 0, this should come from the part SSIS variable, so I can put double quote plus plus double quote, and I can just drag and drop the part SSIS variable here. Okay, and because the variable type is integer, so we need to typecast it to a string. So I can typecast it like dt underscore wstr comma 12, and then I can simply copy this one, and for the another 0 I can paste the same query. Okay, and now instead of using the part variable, we will use the records inserted variable. Okay, so I can just drag and drop it into this location. So our code is ready here, and I will share this expression as well with you. If I click on evaluate expression, so now this is fine, so I can click on OK, OK, OK. So our SSIS package is ready to be executed, and yeah, right now the destination table is empty. So what I can do, I can just click on start button, and it should execute the SSIS package. In the first attempt, it will drop the temp email table, and then it will create a new temp email, will create the indexes on it. This is a complete package, and then it will start moving the data. So if you check the data flow task, it is inserting 10,000 records in one go. Okay, and after every insertion, it is inserting the data into the audit log table, like how many records have been moved and how many parts data have been moved. So if I go back to the SQL Server, and if I check the data inside the audit log, so you can see the data here. So far it has moved 28 parts, 30 parts, 31 parts, 32 parts. Okay, this is how it is going. Okay, and in every part it is inserting 10,000 records, and you can also see the time here, and the package name and the status. So this is how it will work, 39, and yeah, so this is how you can just move the data in batches from one SQL Server table to another SQL Server table, and the table can be on another server as well. So this is the benefit of using SSIS. But if the source table and destination table, if both the tables are on the same server, then you can use the simple insert query as well. Okay. Alright, so the process got completed here, and if I go back to the SQL Server and if I check the data now, so you can see that 100 records have been inserted, data got inserted for 100 parts. Okay, and if I check the data in the email table, then it should contain 1 million records. Yeah, so all 1 million records have been inserted from source table to the destination table. So I think that's it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching the video, and if you like the video, then please click the like button, do subscribe to our channel, press the bell icon and click on all so that you will be notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much.